Very warm good afternoon, everyone. We are happy to have you. And at IWIL India, I'm sure you all know that we are working day in and day out on building skill sets for not just women, but students, academia, businesses all across. We are happy to welcome you to this bootcamp. I think the real role of this bootcamp is to build more and more leaders in artificial intelligence, number one. नंबर टू कैसे आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस आने वाले दशक में आपका जीवन बदलेगी दैट इज अनदर थिंग कि हम कैसे देख रहे हैं आने वाला ये चेंज और हम कैसे इसमें अपना करियर ट्रांजिशन करेंगे फॉर वुमेन co-founders who are wanting to scale their businesses this may be a very good opportunity for people who have talked day in and day out they talk about AI is a difficult subject to deal with when it's technology in our textbook curriculums this is sounding as Sanskrit because people are like this is difficult but no. The place we are going to in the next 5 years, we'll have plug and play applications. There'll be more and more people who will be ready to adapt artificial intelligence. Even whilst when you use your mobile, we'll see that we have more than 30 applications on each cell phone that you use every day. So that's the beauty of it. Coming to what we represent, as you know, that I'm the president of IWIL India, and I'd like to give you a brief on this, that IWIL India is working across 40 cities, across 25,000 women in India, in Southeast Asia. And today, in a bid to boost this productivity on digital transformation, this focus, we brought in some seasoned experts. Our first speaker is Amol Dhonse. He's the chief architect at IBM India Software Labs. I'm very proud to tell you that he has about 80 patents to his credit, and he works and speaks in the industry elaborately. We'd love to know about the basics and fundamentals. आज का जो विषय है कि भाई कैसे हम एक पूरे आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को एक कैप्सूल में डालें और लोगों के लिए सिंपल बनाएं, so they understand. So my perspective to you is to shed some light on how in the next 10 years career transition is going to happen and businesses are going to shape up. Over to you, Amol.
Thanks so much, Deepa. So good afternoon, everyone, and glad I'm given this particular forum to connect with you, to talk to you. So when we start talking about artificial intelligence, everyone start feeling something different, something which is very complicated, as Deepa was saying, like maybe not even Sanskrit, something Greek and Latin that we don't understand. But let's try to understand where the artificial intelligence emerged from. So if we go back, this is nothing new, to be honest. So we have been having predictive models, we have been hearing about machine learning, and so on and so forth. So there are lot of things that has been worked in this world from, I would say, more than 7 or 8 decades. So if we start looking at the journey of AI, so if you look at the journey of AI, it is nothing new. Yeah, so the journey is pretty old, 1940. So we started something called as Turing machines, where Turing machines were the first stuff that was done by a guy called Mr. Turing, who created this particular artificial intelligence, or at that point of time, it was more or less like something which would be able to help you to see that if someone is trying to predict how this particular Turing machines can be used. So it was more or less prediction rather than, I would say, machine learning on artificial intelligence. And as we progressed, as we move forward, we have seen something like ELIZA in 1966. We have seen maybe expert system in 1982. And in between different eras, we have seen maybe what we called as winter of AI or winter of machine learning, where everything was standstill because people were not able to see any much progress happening in those spaces. And that particular period was between 1970 to 1980 and 1982 to 1993, quite a long hibernation period in the AI world that has happened. So that's why, though the journey started in 1940, I would say there is a 20 years hibernation in the area of AI that typically happened, which has taken us back by 20 years. So as we progressed, you might have heard about the Deep Blues, which beat Kasparov. So a chess champion was defeated by a machine in 1997. As we progressed, we came up with something called as Watson Jeopardy quiz. So again, like maybe this was artificial intelligence game where Watson was able to answer question whatever was asked. 1970 we have something called as Alpha Zero. 1916 we have Alpha Go. So if we see between 1997 and 2016, uh, from chess to we a champion which would be defeated by a machine which is 200 times more complex. So checker is the game which is 200 times more complex than chess, and machine was able to defeat the champion. 2018 we have seen IBM Debater, which is again like a machine learning or a Watson based tool which is able to help people to come up with like maybe a debate. Because when we talk about debate, there are a lot of things that needs to be considered. One is your IQ, second is your emotional intelligence. So debater was able to actually debate with one of the most renowned debater in the world, with all the emotion quotients, IQ, and so far and so forth. So if you see the journey is quite extensive. And today, I would say we are in an era where we are in the first hour of 24 hours. So there is a long journey that still we have to go to as we are progressing towards new and new things in the AI space. Now, today we are seeing that AI is becoming pervasive. There are a couple of reasons, and I'm going to talk about those reasons why AI is going to be pervasive, why AI is going to be the need of hour, why industry is or enterprises are accepting that yes, AI is going to help them. So there are four areas. The first one is algorithms. So in the case of AI, these algorithms, the Turing machine algorithms, were developed in 1940, but all these things were very theoretical. So people have done a lot of research. There were a lot of methodology that were put in place, which were able to give a perspective, but they were not able to move forward. But algorithms were always there. So all the machine learning algorithms. So AI starts with like machine learning or data science. So if we look at the AI ladder, there are four steps at a high level. Four steps. One is data exploration. Second is your data organization. Third step is your data analysis, and fourth step is the actual model application of the model into that particular organized and analyzed data set. And then fifth state is like how we can productionize that particular data in terms of using, like for example, we call it like machine learning operations or AI operations, AI ops or ML ops. Now, when we look at all these particular four areas, the first and foremost thing is, do we have those algorithms in place which are going to help to build these particular models? Because data prediction, data visualization, data organization was already there. The most important piece is how you can use your data in a more effective way, where machine learning models can be applied. And that's where the algorithms came into picture, or algorithms were heavily used, but they were already there. So what happened is people started using those algorithms. So like when we think about data, there are two categories of data, which is a supervised data and unsupervised data, where, or structured data and unstructured data, where structured data is like maybe in a tabular format, and unstructured data is like maybe in terms of images, in terms of tweets, in terms of like maybe whatever happens on all our social media platform. The models that needs to be created for structured data was very easy, but for unstructured data, the models that needs to be created, they are very complex in nature, because the data is in a completely different format. So most of you would be aware about like RDBMS, relational database. From relational database we have moved to uh, the time series data, which is a NoSQL data, where the data is in the form of like maybe an object, and you have to play with that particular object. So the algorithms that were developed or that were evolved were for more or less structured data. And as we are moving further, we are having all those algorithms for unstructured data as well. So the first important block that was there in this particular AI or machine learning area is algorithms, which was already there. But with the next couple of things that are available, we'll see that how these algorithms can be used effectively in the practical world in the use cases. So the second most important block of any machine learning concept is data. And as I was saying, like, data was already available, but the amount of data that is available today is humongous. So every second we are generating huge zettabytes of data. How can we use this data in more effective way? So if we look at the data, as I said, there is a structured data, unstructured data, and there is something called as dark data. So even today, we have around 80 to 85% of the data which is dark data. When we say dark data, it is not usable in any form for the models. But eventually, as we progress, we would be able to make meaning out of this particular data as we move forward. Data is the, again, the primary building block for any model. So we need data and we need algorithms, and these are the two primary blocks. Yeah, so the third most important thing why we took around 7 to 8 decade to come to this particular journey was the computing power. So I still recall that when I was having my own first, I would say, desktop, it was having 32 MB of memory or RAM, so to call. Now 32 MB, even your phone has like, you will discard the phone which is going to have 32 MB of memory. Even a phone today, a normal phone, a smartphone, I would say, would have at least 1 to 2 gigabyte of memory. We have moved from a very low computing power to a very high computing power. We started with CPUs, then we moved to GPUs. Now we have something called as TPU, tensor processing unit, which are more powerful, which are heavily powerful, or which is able to do processing maybe 1,000 times or 10,000 times faster than a GPU. I would say 100,000 times faster than a CPU, based on the computing power that the tensor is going to carry. So again, why the computing power is available today? Again, like, with the resources that are available, with more smartphone, more devices coming into picture, this this computing power, which was very costly at some point of time, has become really cheap. Cheap not in sense of like maybe the need, but in terms of like maybe availability of it, in terms of the cost of it, that has become cheaper what it used to be. And one of the most essential element when we are trying to build any machine learning algorithms or AI models is the computing power. So this is, I would say, the third building block of your AI model or your machine learning model. The fourth one is the open source. So this is another important piece that has helped to like maybe move your AI journey in a very fast way, because most of the models, or at least the base of the model, they are based on open source platform. So be it TensorFlow, be it Skykit, be it Pandas, Keras, all these particular frameworks or libraries that are available in order to build your AI and machine learning models, they are based on open source. So I would say this is the fourth pillar of the AI or machine learning. So if you look at it, the four pillars are the availability of algorithm, the availability of data, the change in the computation power, and cloud becoming very pervasive. So you really don't need to worry about. So when I'm talking about a computing power, typically what used to happen maybe a decade back, that every organization need to have their data centers like maybe on premise, and then they need to like worry about heavy infrastructure that needs to be made available from operation perspective, from maintenance perspective. But with the cloud coming into picture and computing becoming very cheap, that's another area that is becoming very, very important in order to fast forward the journey of AI. And the fourth one is, as I said, open source technologies, which has, I would say, helped the data scientists, the data engineers to excel in their world in order to build the model. So if you ask me, every one or other week you will see a new library or a new model coming into picture in the open source world, and you would be able to leverage those. If we look at the evolution of AI, there are three areas that we can think about. One is what we call as a narrow AI, which started from early 2010 and then 2015, and still some part of it is there. The second part where we are today is called as a disruptive or pervasive AI, which is called as broad AI, where what's going to happen is the AI is able to provide you with some machine learning model, which is going to help you in at least deriving next base action. So it is just going to derive the next base action. So when we look at industry use cases, what typically happens is like maybe how we can put AI in the manufacturing industry. If we look at it, like in order to improve the operations, in order to reduce the maintenance cost, these are the typical use cases that we think about. In like let's say if we want to think about AI in the healthcare, it is going to help you to like maybe do your research in a faster way, and COVID is the best example. So the vaccination that were developed, they have heavily used machine learning over there, machine learning and AI over there, wherein like genome sequencing was done in a very faster way. Ideally, creation of a vaccine used to take maybe around between 1 to 2 decades. And if you see that during COVID, we were able to create a vaccine in merely 1.5 years. Most of the organization, or I would say all the organizations who came up with, or all the pharma companies who came up with these vaccines, they have heavily used artificial intelligence, be it like maybe when they were trying to develop like a serum based vaccine or RNA based vaccine, or like maybe a typical generic vaccine. So they have heavily used machine learning. So if you look at the applicability of artificial intelligence, it is span across all the areas, be it your day-to-day life. So COVID is the best example of a day-to-day life. And if you think about like maybe some sci-fi thing, the autonomous car coming from Tesla, where which would have been like maybe a dream, or people might have seen these things in the movies, but that's a reality today. Now there are some challenges with that, because when we think about like maybe an automation sorry or autonomous car, there might be some kind of an biases that may come in when the machine is trying to take a decision. And machine, so I'll give simple example that like let's say a car is driving, and then there is a red signal and people are jumping on the red signal, typical Indian story. And now like if there are two individuals, okay, who are going to be hit by a car, so can car take a decision with some kind of an reasoning? And that is the challenge. Now if the car gets into an accident, who is going to be responsible for that? Is the owner who is sitting in the car, or is the car manufacturing company? So these are still like maybe some things that needs to be figured out in terms of like maybe biases, where what is happening is we are coming up with something called as experiential AI, or we are coming up with like maybe explainable AI, where whatever model is getting developed and when it is getting applied, we should be able to tell that what exactly has happened with a specific data set. So we should be able to explain that why a certain action was taken. So that's called as, like, maybe in layman's language, that's called as an explainable AI. Now the another important area is, like, let's say if I develop a model, if I develop an algorithm in one specific area, how I can use that particular algorithm in a different use case or a different industry. That's called as transferable AI. And these are examples of broad AI. The general revolutionary AI is something which is different, where AI is able, or the machines are able to take decisions on their own. So they are able to establish the emotional intelligence, they are able to establish their own reasoning power, they are able to, like, maybe establish like correlations between different factors and take a decision. So that's like in general AI. We are I think it's a long way when we are going to reach over there. So there is a huge amount of research that needs to happen. So as I said, like, maybe we are in the first hour of a 24 uh, day hour in the area of AI. So we don't know today what's going to happen in, like, maybe next 3 or 4 decades in the AI space. What's going to come? Are we going to have, like, maybe a flying cars, driverless cars? That was a dream that are available. So again, we won't be able to imagine. You might be wondering that why AI is going to be so significant and so important. Two extreme cases. So one is, I was talking about COVID. Second, which is an actual problem. The second use case was, like, maybe the autonomous car or a sci-fi stuff. So when we are talking about like an autonomous car, let's forget about, like, maybe the biases for time being and reasoning and all those stuff. Why an autonomous car is going to be an important piece down the line. So let's take an example. If someone wants to drive from home to office, now the offices are getting started, so people needs to go to office. Now when someone is leaving from home, there are a lot of things that are coming up to their mind. So, like, let's say someone is going to office, they would be thinking about, like, maybe there is a meeting they have to present, and like they have started very early, so maybe they have kept the geyser on or not. So all these things are like maybe worrying them at some point of time. And this is like what we call it as distraction from the general thought that's happening. But if you take a autonomous car or a machine, it knows that it has to go from point A to point B, no biases. So think about, like, maybe a autonomous car has been told and given a Google map, and it has to go from A to B. It is not distracted. It is not bothered about what's happening. So it is more efficient. Human being is intelligent, but machines are more efficient. So that's why it's going to be an important that AI will be embedded as we move forward in our day-to-day life in more effective way. With this, I'll take a pause, and if there are questions, I would be happy to answer.
So there are two questions. The first one focused on the young children, that how in the next 10 years their careers are going to evolve around AI. What do you think changing when it comes to career maps?
So, okay, this is my own personal opinion. I still think that children are going to be seen in a different way. And what's typically happening today is, like, we are trying to get children to learn, like, maybe programming. But what I feel is, let them be children and let them study what they are doing. Let's not try to, like, start enforcing maybe some technology areas into their syllabi. Try to tell them that, okay, start learning Python and all those stuff, because the base for children is the analytical skills, and that gets developed when they are being taught about, like, maybe mathematics, science, and so on and so forth. So this is like maybe from children's perspective. But what they are going to get, I think it's a completely 360-degree shift when we are looking at children. So they have all the gadgets, they are more advanced in terms of knowledge than what we are. Now how AI is going to help? They are using Alexa, they are using Google Assistant, and they are able to get answers what they are looking for. I think everything is available to them. Now, what can happen? So, for example, like, can we use AI in a different way for kids? Like, for example, typically what happens is if someone wants to learn a physics experiment, like, for example, Newton's law, to every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Using some simulators, using some kits and artificial intelligence model, can we show them? Can we like literally teach them in a different way? I think the AI is going to help them in terms of like maybe help them to do their I would say their classes in a different way. For example, how the heart function. Typically, it's very theoretical. But if there is a holographic model that is available to them, which is going to tell them, or a 3D hologram, which is going to tell them that how heart actually functions, which will give them like a visual aspect of it as well. So I think these things are coming in the edtech industry for sure, these are definitely going to help kids.
इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्टार्टअप्स, देखिए बहुत सारी महिलाएं हमारे साथ जुड़ी हैं जो स्टार्टअप्स में हैं, आप कैसे समझते हैं कि ये क्वेश्चन दो तीन और है, मैं फटाफट लूंगी, स्केल कैसे करें वो बिजनेस एआई की मदद से? हाउ डू यू थिंक एआई कैन हेल्प देम स्केल देयर बिजनेस इन it'll be very nice if you can be brief.
See, what's happening is you have to first understand which business you want to get into. Like, is it a B2C, B2B? And there would be, if it is like maybe a IT business, you should definitely start thinking about how you can embed, how you can do some kind of an data analytics, how you can like maybe do some kind of an reasoning, which is going to tell you that these are your customers and these are your leads and how you can follow them. Like, if we look at a digital world, if the startups are like maybe in the world of a non-digital area, or like maybe a startup which are commodity based startup, which are completely alienated than the digital space, the AI tools can help them to research. They can help them to even keep books, where there are like tools like Zeni, which is helping like any startup to keep their books. There are AI tools which will help them to come up with some kind of an predictive analytics about the model that you are building in from a commodity perspective. So again, like there can be different answers. It's not like one answer would fit every startup, but in a nutshell, there are different tools and different mechanisms that you can start using, you can start leveraging. There are different AI organizations which are willing to help you as a startup as well.
एक और सवाल है आपके लिए कि will AI only affect the top 1% of the people? ये दो सवाल हैं इनके मोड।
Okay, so has pandemic hit only top 1% of the people? Simple answer. I think it has hit more than 20-30% people, and with the vaccinations and vaccines available, it has helped, like, I would say, maybe 70-80% of at least Indian population and world population as well. So it may not be a direct impact, but it has an indirect impact as well. And I would say that it's going to help everyone. So for example, just like maybe a short example, water is going to be a scarce, and how AI can help the water scarcity. That's a study that's been happening, and they have used AI in Texas, and they are able to save billions of liters of water using AI and IoT. So these are like, it's not going to like help 1%, 2%, maybe enterprises, yes. There would be like less number of enterprises that would be at least start getting help in this particular decade. But AI is going to help everyone. Trust me, it's going to help directly or indirectly everyone. We are talking about smart cities. We are talking about smart traffic. All these are, this is AI itself.
Wonderful. Amolji, last question, and then I will, we'll move to Dr. Colonel Inderjeet Singh. मेरे आपसे सवाल ये था कि सवाल पूछा गया है, Janet Mary is asking, please elaborate on dark data. What do you think is dark data, Amol?
Okay, so dark data is the data which is not usable in any format as of today. For example, your machines, they are generating data. They are generating like maybe a data which we are not capturing. So like, let's say if your car is there, it is still generating some kind of an data. We are not having sensors associated with that particular car. So that data is seen as a wasted data. It is of no meaning to us, because though we see this as a data, but it is not usable data. Then data which is being generated at an enterprise level as well, which cannot be used in order to take some kind of an corrective action, take some kind of an corrective measure. That's an enterprise dark data. The third set of data is, even if that particular data is generated, it is like, maybe for example, there are a lot of, let's assume that there are a lot of tweets that are happening, and we are not able to like maybe do analysis of those particular tweets. Then that particular data is a dark data as well. Are we able to extract meaning out of it? When we start extracting meaning out of that particular data, it becomes usable data. If we are not, then it is a dark data.
Wonderful. So, Amol, we want to go on and on, very informative. And thank you. You've been a patron with IWIL India for now almost a year. We thank you for coming. We are coming with a congregation and an event on the 23rd of April in the Aero City, Gurgaon. And we really request, all of you who can gather to come and join us. We would love to invite you. Amol, thank you so much for making and speaking to all of us and making this interesting for us. And we're wishing you a lovely day today. And we'd love to see you on 23rd of April if you can make it. It'll be beautiful for you to come. Now we move on to our next speaker. It was a beautiful session with Amol. Now we are going to Colonel Dr. Inderjeet Singh. He is the CIO and Chief Cyber Officer at BARA. Very, very nice to meet you. A very warm good afternoon.
It's a good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to all the wonderful ladies who are there on the platform today. And happy Women's Day to all of you. And it's a very apt, I think, topic which you have chosen, and wish to see the leadership roles being taken by the women entrepreneurs in times to come in the country and the world over.
Lovely, lovely. How we find this pertinent, because you see our textbook curriculum in mostly the students are studying. The feedback is that this is not industry specific, So how do you think AI, एक बहुत ही layman's terminology में सर अगर आप हमें समझा सकते हैं कि अगले आने वाले सालों में, अगले 10 सालों में आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस किस तरीके से जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज बदलेगा, नंबर 1, और किस तरीके से बिजनेसेस आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस की मदद से स्केल कर सकते हैं अपने बिजनेस को टू बूस्ट बिजनेस प्रोडक्टिविटी व्हेन वी से डिजिटल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन.
It's a wonderful question, and thank you, Deepa, and thank you, IWIL, for having me here today. And the topic is so pertinent, and the point which you have brought it is how we are going to look at the AI after some time. And to tell you, AI is going to touch everyone in times to come. And whether it's a kid, whether a mature guy or an old, whatever form it is, all industries will be touched upon. When it comes to the education part of it, there are lots of questions. ये आता है कि हम क्या job से out हो जाएंगे? Are we going to lose job because of the AI? The answer is pretty simple. You are not going to lose your jobs. Only thing is you need to reskill yourself to adapt to those kind of jobs, right? We never, thought of appointment called a data scientist a couple of years back, data engineers, right? Chief data officers, AI architect. Those were not there ever. And now these are the kind of appointments which are coming up. And what do we need to do? We need to actually align to that kind of assignments, align our skills to that. So skilling and reskilling is the key to success if you have to survive in the AI. So that is where the AI is going to change everything. And what everybody says, we are going to see AI in full form, maybe by 2040. We are going to see whether it takes over the human beings, when it's going to take over the human beings, what's really going to happen, because it's a challenge of the extent of the human beings altogether in the times to come. That is what is the AI is the future today. But at the same time, it is driving every business, every organization, even the education, everywhere. This is the one which is driving quite a bit. So just to give you heads up on the AI and ML, though Amol had actually brought out very pertinently about all the points which were there. So the difference between the AI and the machine learning is primarily very simple. It's a machine learning is all about your learning, right? Where you have the capability of machine to learn without explicitly being programmed. It's an automated way of learning the thing. And the AI is about your perceptions. It's about your decisions and it's about your autonomy, right? And whatever inputs you get from the machine, they are being imitated in an intelligent way, right? Using the AI. And that's what is the major difference between the AI or, or the machine learning. And machine learning happens to be a subset of the AI. And some bit of the types of machine learning, what we talk of very importantly, just to uh, tell everyone and so that everybody is on the same platform. So we have the supervised learning. That's basically, you talk of the customer retention, you talk of diagnostics, you talk of forecasting, you talk of predictions, you talk of, just a second, I think, let me tell these people. Right. So you've been talking of diagnostics, you've been talking of predictions, forecasting, process optimization, and new insights, right? That's all part of your supervised learning. When you talk of your reinforcement learning, that's what we are all doing today, supervised learning. Reinforcement learning is all about your real-time decisions, your game AI, your learning tasks, your skill acquisition, and your robo navigation. So this is a work in progress. And the third one, which is more importantly, the unsupervised AI, and this is one which we always are scared of, right? And unsupervised learning is all about your structure discovery, your feature exploitation, your meaningful compression, data visualization, converted system, target marketing, customer segmentation. So if you look at it, it's focusing at all the facets of life, whether it's your business, whether it's industry, whether it's the manufacturing, whether it's the customer delivery, your personal life, your game, you're taking a real-time decisions, everything is based on it, right? And primarily the AI has the components like deep learning, which is again a part of machine learning. It's about the statistics. It's an unsupervised machine learning and the NLP, the natural language processing, right? And what does it really do? It really helps you make very effective drugs today. It makes Siri more smarter. It makes you, beat the champion at Go. And we talk of, terminologies called perception management, the predictive maintenance, prescriptive maintenance, and all those, terms which are there. And there are 7 levels of maturity when it comes to the AI altogether. So at the initial level, is a perception which you have of what's happening now. Then you have, what do I need to know? That's about the notification. Then is a suggestion. What do you recommend? Thereafter, it is all about what should I do? That's about the automation. This is what is the automation process we are talking of, everyone. Then is a prediction. What can I expect to happen? Then is a prevention. What can I do to avoid it? And the most importantly is the situational awareness, what I need to do right now. And it's all based on the continuous learning. It's based on your machine learning, your deep learning, and that's what forms the component of your artificial intelligence, right? Coming on to the different solutions which have come up, there are different AI applications which are there today, very interestingly. And in the terms of driverless cars, what we see today, and we have been talking every time of the driverless cars, that's where it's disrupting your automation, your transportation, your parking, your city planning. But just imagine, when we talk of AI, just see the amount of cameras which are there. When I see a driverless car, it's got so many number of sensors. There's so many numbers of, radars which are there. There's the distance radar, there's a communication radar, there's a cognitive intelligence which has been included into it, because the driverless car has to take a decision right then and there. whether it's to brake or not to brake if somebody's coming in front of it, right? So that's what is all happening at the back end of the car, right? So it's disrupting the complete city planning as a whole, because you need to have a different kind of planning than in the manner what you have right now. So this is how you really work it out. Most talked about Sophia, and Sophia was the one which had really revolutionized the robo industry. And when she came up first time and she told that, in one of the interviews, she actually brought it out that she wants to kill humans. Okay, thereafter they reprogrammed it, and it was told not to say these kind of lies. So that is the kind of revolution we have. But just see, when I talk of the robo, what goes into it? There are all whole lot of IoT devices, sensors. There's a 5G communication in times to come. Right now, it's another communication. You have the decisions which are being taken on the fly. You have the cognitive intelligence. You have the kind of intelligence which is so very important to take a flip second decision, right? So this is what it does. Then is the AI generated arts, and AI generated arts have really revolutionized the complete ecosystem today. We talk about the NFTs, right? And lots of AI generated arts are being sold as NFTs in the metaverse, and it's really changing the whole ecosystem, right? People are really earning using the art which are being made using the AI, and they're being sold at a hefty price. Then is your deep fake, and all of you who may be knowing what's a deep fake all about. It's a kind of imitation of the people who are never being present, right? You also have the facial recognition, your speech recognition, your text recognition, your video recognition, and that's all happening today as part of the AI development, right? And what does AI do other than this? What we already spoken about the healthcare, where we told about how the healthcare has been revolutionized, cancer treatment, your critical ailments which can be treated, your treatment of the medicine which you need to be given, what potency needs to be given, is all calculated. You're using the AI algorithm, right? Then is your law and accounting. It's really revolutionizing the law and accounting laws. It's able to read all the judgments which were there some point in time to take the right decision, which is being done manually right now. Cybersecurity, of course, I told you, because cybersecurity is AI versus AI, and in cybersecurity, we will be able to do lots of fraud detection, malware detection, lots of things in the cybersecurity space itself. Military applications are pretty important, and AI in military applications is a whole new subject altogether, with AI-enabled drones, which are so intelligent, right? And they're able to pinpoint a person using the facial recognition and launch a attack, or they can fire a gun onto that, right? And then is your finance, of course. All your stock exchanges, they are all based on the AI today, and you're able to take a flip second decision in case of any changes. That's the power of AI in different areas. Your surgical system, you have nanometer probes which are there for the operations. You have a kind of the limbs which have come up, which can really pick up the item the way you want it, like humans. We have the chatbots, and they they talk like human beings, right? And that's what we see. The Google Assistant, you have your Alexa's, Siri, all of them are the things are in this direction. Then you have the space probe, which is there on Mars. It's being using lots of AI today to do the research work. Okay. Then you have all-in-one floor cleaner. So it cleans up where it's required, and it works when it is required. And then you have a walk like a man. It can walk and jump like a man. And there's a company called Boston Engineering, which is making these kind of robots, and they're really phenomenal. Then all other areas where, where the AI really works. Your energy sector, your nuclear power plants, you're using AI to really make a methodology of how the fusion has to take place, when the fusion has to take place, what are the power generation requirements which are come up. Then is your water plants and electrical grids which are there. So again, that is where you have the AI which is being effectively used. You have the stock markets, which I told you, and 75% of all trade orders are generated by the automated trading systems, right? And of course, you have the aviation. And anytime whenever you're flying today, the amount of sensors which are there on aircraft, it gives you more than 150 gigabytes of data, which is to be analyzed after each flight. And it really improves upon the round trips, the ground maintenance, and the maintenance of the aircraft. Then is your nuclear weapons, right? The communication satellites. These are all enabled by AI right now. And the aviation sector, which I told you, and if you remember the 737 MAX, that was all powered by artificial intelligence and sensors and intelligence on board. But unfortunately, you saw that, the AI, the 737 MAX had a couple of series of accidents, and we really had to put it back on ground. But, there is these softwares which the airline operators are trying to use are becoming more and more comfortable to operate with use of AI, right? Which was not there earlier. And this is what I was telling you about walk like a man robots, which are being created by a company called Boston Dynamics. And it is for the military use, for supply chain, lots and lots of them, and different applications which are being developed and used by them. Then is your stock exchanges. And while you had the stock exchange, if you look at it, when it went down in 2010, really people were shaken up by that crash. But now you have the predictive kind of analysis, which is already there, where you can judge in case of any crash which is going to happen. That's the kind of, machine learning, deep learning, AI, which is going to enable us. But there are certain super concerns, and that's what is very important. Why we talk of AI in all the applications. The super concerns were that the development of full AI could spell the end of human race, and very rightly so. There are lots of concerns about that. Elon Musk say that we should be careful about the AI, and then we have Bill Gates coming up and saying that I'm in the camp that is concerned about the super intelligence. Obama is that some prudence is in thinking benchmark that would indicate general intelligence developed in the horizons. And also, AI would be a, they will get rid of the slow human. So that's how are the concerns which are being raised by various think tanks across the world, and lots of them. And more importantly, while we talk of the AI, one of the enabler which is there is the industry 4.0, and it's really gaining because of the AI and the machine learning. And how it's really gaining, what we know is that we saw the industrial revolution 1, which was there, and it was all about the mechanization, steam and power, water power. Industry 2.0 was about the mass production and electricity. Industry 3.0 was the electronics and IT systems automation. And today what we talk of is Industry 4.0. It's all about artificial intelligence, and it started almost 2015 onwards, what we're looking for 2050, right? So AI is the one which is enabling, and in addition to AI, the other technologies which are important is your IoT, IIoT, blockchain, 5G, right? So all these are the enabling technologies for the success of the Industry 4.0. So AI is contributing towards the transformation of society at a 10x faster rate and 300x the scale, with an estimated impact of 3000x of the first industrial revolution. So this is the kind of impact what we are seeing on the industry. So world's biggest companies are heavily relying on AI and ML. So all the companies, well, all the big companies, if you look at it, they're all relying on the AI today. They are developing some form or the other. And what Amol also brought up, we are going from the CPUs to GPUs to TPUs now. You're finding so much of technology development by all the biggies. In the machine learning part of it, they are already started giving you the taste of the machine learning. You're seeing some part of the AI already there in each of the platform which you're interacting with today, right? Similarly, these are some of the startups which are working in the AI, and all of them are really picking up. They're really, catching the eyeballs right now. And this is the kind of ecosystem today. Just look at it. So much of work is happening all across the world. And these are some of the top AI companies in healthcare, in education, in manufacturing, in city planning, retail and warehousing, model development, and cyber security. So all of them are developing very interesting solutions. And AI to drive the growth of startups is very interesting today. And the complete startup ecosystem has been nourished by the advent of the AI, and it's given rise to the evolved business processes, right? And lots of startups are actually getting into the different fields of logistics, the accounts, marketing, team performance, HR, right? So they're all getting into it. And lots of startups, we are seeing the light of the day for the development of new products and new solutions. And one thing that's very important before I sign off, is that skills is the most important part for AI. We need to reskill ourselves. We need to hone on the kind of, algorithms which you want to have it, whether it's your education, organization, whether you're in any of your different organization where you're working, you need to really get aligned to those skills, right? And that will actually create, the journey of AI very interesting in times to come.
Thank you, Mr. Inderjeet. There Prerna is asking, she's one of our entrepreneurs, how expensive is it to invest in AI technology for a sustainable travel startup? She runs a travel startup and she's asking, how much does it cost for?
So it depends on the kind of talent which you are employing for developing those solutions. And it's not very costly, I'll say it. It's about how the algorithms are being developed and how you're using those algorithms and what are you trying to effectively have the output of that algorithm. So it's not going to be very costly when you have a startup for using the AI. Yes, but the talent which you hire, they're coming at a cost. They're not as cheap as the other talent.
Yes. So what he's trying to say, Prerna, is in simpler words, it is difficult to get a developer who a startup can afford. But there are very many SaaS tools that you can use, in collaborations like Sugar, Salesforce, and the best homegrown tool for you is Zoho. If you ask me, very, very cheap, economical. So if you're looking for process dynamics in AI, then Zoho is a very good tool for you. And there are many more that we can suggest and you can connect separately. So Keshav is asking, will all AI be a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization?
What so is it? Is going to be, so practically we use the terminology of DAO with blockchain, right? And DAO is the decentralized authorization organization, is like everybody's a CEO in the company. Okay, it's like that's kind of situation. And blockchain is best suited. AI actually sits on the blockchain and gives you the better solutions for whatever decisions you want to take using that DAO. Okay, so it's a combination of blockchain and AI.
So thank you, sir. We have a feedback. People saying thank you for this wonderful presentation. It's pretty informative, and we'd like to thank you for the time that you spared for us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's lovely. We would love you to be a patron with IWIL India. Keep going, sir, and we'll have to invite you to more and more number of events that come through.
But, sure. And all the best, and have a great day.
Lovely, sir. Thank you so much, Inderjeet Singh. Thanks a lot, and lovely having you all.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, hi. Our next speaker is Ms. Manu Kondal. She is an education and technology evangelist with 13 years of experience. She is an educator by profession and loves to learn new things about technology and trends. She is Adobe and Microsoft certified educator, Microsoft innovator, educator, expert since 2017, and MIA master trainer. Over to you, Manu.
Thank you so much, Parul. Thank you so much, Ms. Sayal, for having me here.
Lovely. Thank you, Manu. Thank you for joining us. And Pravesh, can you put her in spotlight because I cannot see her? So please put her in spotlight, Pravesh, if you can that. And Manu, yes, over to you. And while we bring to you, like I said, our audiences have requested her quietly that we don't want slides, we want an interactive presentation. So, it'll be fun if you can, we will be very grateful rather if you can make it more interactive and, clear doubts and talk about industry specific roles and futures. So over to you, Manu. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, as I would like to start off with AI, I don't want it to be, a very boring PPT kind of a thing. That's totally the kind of presentation I would like to be part of it. But just to start off with, I would first like to talk about what AI is, what is the future of AI, how AI is already part of our daily lives. So just to start off with, first we need to understand what exactly is AI and why it is being developed. So when we say artificial intelligence, we know what artificial means. And intelligence is something that we would like to match up to the human intelligence, what we as humans can take our decisions based on our experience that we have learned so far in our life. How we can make a machine intelligent is what AI is all about. And machine learning and artificial intelligence goes hand in hand. It comes under the same umbrella. It's not different from each other. So when we say AI, it's like a science stream we talk about, and when we talk about machine learning, when we talk about computer vision, we talk about natural language processing. These all are the you can say the branches which makes the artificial intelligence work for any organization, any problem, anything that we are developing or the researchers are working towards to solve. So in layman language, any machine which is able to mimic human intelligence, it is called artificial intelligence enabled machine. So there are three types of artificial intelligence which Mr. Amol already talked about it. I'll just give you a brief of what artificial general intelligence is and what is artificial superintelligence is. These two are basically the conceptual intelligence that humankind is trying to achieve. The researchers are able to achieve the broad AI, which Mr. Amol had explained very beautifully, but it is not general intelligence where if we develop a machine to develop, to take a decision based on the human intelligence, like if I have to solve a mathematical problem, that a computer would be programmed in a conventional way, would be able to do it. But if we have to develop a robot which should be able to mimic human expressions, this is something the researchers are working towards and yet to achieve. Then comes the artificial superintelligence. What is exactly it is? It is, if you have seen, and I'm sure most of you would have seen the movie Age of Ultron. So in that kind of a robot which has its own superpower and has the human intelligence and is better at the tasks which humans are not able to do, is something that we think of, and I'm sure after maybe few decades we'll have to have that kind of a super intelligence very soon. So as I said, machine learning and deep learning are basically the subsets of artificial intelligence. It's not different from what artificial intelligence is. Anything that is able to do specific tasks, which is being programmed to do a specific task, is called a machine learning. And deep learning is also a subset of artificial intelligence, which try to work like a human brain will work, like neurons, how quickly we reason, we take a call to solve any problem. I'm gonna briefly explain you what exactly is machine learning with the help of an example. Like as you can see on the screen, there is set of numbers which we've been trained to solve in our mathematical class when we were in schools. So our brain is trained to look at the patterns and find the missing number. And I'm sure that's the reason you would have come up with the answer that 64 is the next number in question, which should be the right answer for this series given. So how we are expecting the machine to give us the right prediction is called a machine learning. Instead of making a code to do the calculation and give us the result, that is a conventional programming that used to happen earlier. But now when we talk about machine learning is something that we want, and we expect the machine to take the call based on the experience that it had with the data and how it experienced or learned from by processing lots and lots of data, which exactly is the key, you can say, the input required for any artificial intelligence system or machine learning system that we're trying to build. We know that we learn from our past experiences, but can the machine also learn from the past experiences? Yes, they can. And that is the whole idea of that. We can see that, everybody is, not everybody, most of the people who are into this industry are trying to understand how the machines are working. They are trying to learn these open source software coding to develop more and more algorithms. Machine learning is nothing but different sort of algorithms which data scientists, data analysts, and business managers are working towards to fetch or predict the data analysis that will help them understand the business that they're trying to run. So what if humans can train the machine? Of course, like we have the experience, we know what decision has to be taken when a certain problem is given to us. Likewise, feed in that experience to machine. Will they become intelligent? If not intelligent, at least they'll be able to do certain jobs which makes human, it's a monotonous job, which machines can easily, without getting tired, be able to process and give us the right output. Now I'm going to explain you machine learning with the help of how the data analysis is being done. So there's this Paul who loves to listen to music, and he either likes the music or he dislikes the music basis on the tempo, genre, intensity, and the gender of the voice. So these are like 4 parameters that the data analysis will help us figure out and visualize what we are looking at to understand what kind of music he likes. Okay. So let's just talk about the 2 parameters only right now. The intensity of the music, which we are presenting on the y-axis, it is ranging from light to the soaring. That is the range for the intensity of the music. Likewise, we have tempo of the music, which could be from relaxed to fast. So here you can see the green dots that are being presented here are being the data sets of the song which he likes. So here, if we make a circle of the green's data set values presented on the screen, we can easily understand that he likes fast tempo music and soaring music, fast tempo and soaring intensity music. That is the kind of music he likes. And he dislikes, which is light and relaxed, light intensity and relaxed tempo music. So for example, if we have another song which we have to figure out whether he's going to like this song or not. So according to the data that is related to song A, let's name it as song A, it falls under the category of here, which is being presented on the screen. It falls under the fast tempo category, and its intensity is also soaring. So when we look at this data, we can easily make out that he's going to like this song because of the features which are being mentioned as per his previous choices. So this is clearly, we as humans can clearly understand that he's going to like this kind of music. But what if we have another song called B, which has medium tempo and medium intensity, which will fall somewhere here in between the dislike songs and the likability songs that he likes. So here, when we have to take a call, it is for humans also, for machine also, it is how we're going to take a call that this song is going to fall into which category. So here, when we discuss or we take a nearest data set values, like we make a circle here, we are going to understand that when we make the data set of the nearest values, it is being very clearly mentioned that it has 4 songs that comes into this category and only 1 song that he dislikes. So this B song is going to fall under the song category which he likes. So this is one of the algorithm example which is being explained on the screen, which is called the K nearest neighbor. It is one of the most commonly used algorithm in machine learning, and how it adapts to the data set or the data you're trying to analyze for your organization or for the problem that you're trying to solve using the machine learning algorithm. It helps you by making the subsets of the nearest data set that you have to evaluate. So in layman language, the more data you have to analyze, you will have a better model to give the right and accurate results. So this was about how the machine perceives and visualizes the data and how it learns from running the algorithms, the right output it has to generate. So we are not coding it, but by giving right amount of and the correct and accurate data, we are making the machine intelligent to take the right call for the more data sets that we are going to give it as input to decide which category will it fall into. So next we're going to talk about supervised learning, unsupervised and reinforcement learning. This has also been covered by Mr. Amol, but I'll just give you a small example like I just explained you the machine learning in previous slides. So supervised learning is something which where you need the human intervention. It has to be programmed and then the machine is able to give you the output. So for example, there is one friend who's given the other friend 1,000 coins, okay? But to count those coins into different, and those coins are in 3 different categories. One coin is Indian 1 rupee coin, one is Euro coin, and one is a dirham, 1 dirham from UAE. So basis the differentiation or the feature of these points, the machine will be able to label the data and will give you the right output. So what is the feature here? Feature to predict the output is the weight here. The weight of the coin is the feature, and if it is for example, if it is a 1 rupee coin, so it will be of 3 grams. So if the system is being given a 3 grams coin, it will give you the output that it is equal to 1 rupee. So in this, we can say that the feature and the label work together to make the machine understand what is a supervised learning. Then comes the unsupervised learning. In unsupervised learning, the human intervention is not there. It basically lets the machine take a call and label the data. I'll give an example over here. So on the screen, you can see that, on the left-hand side, we have few names and their scores are being given in the terms of how many runs they have made and how many wickets that they have taken. These are the names of the cricketers. Now, when we analyze the data, for example, on x-axis, we are going to, mention or visualize the number of wickets taken by a person, and on the y-axis, we are visualizing the number of runs that person has made. Basis the list, this has been put on a graph. Now, clearly, we see here there are 2 clusters. So these 2 clusters on the left-hand side, this first cluster, predicts that people who have scored higher, who have made more runs, have taken less wickets, are probably the batsmen, and those who have taken more wickets and have scored less are probably the bowlers. So this is about the unsupervised learning. Then comes the reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is something that works on the feedback. So for example, somebody made a model to predict something and that prediction was wrong. So a feedback would be given to that model and it will keep rerunning that model till the time it gives the right result. So in short, we can say machine learning is all about how the input is being processed by the model that we are using or the algorithm that we are using. It gives you the output. If you're not satisfied with the output, you give the feedback to the model, and that model will again rerun or keep on giving the output till the time you are satisfied with the output that it is supposed to give you. How is machine learning related to AI? So as I said, it's a subset of artificial intelligence. They both go hand in hand. Machine learning is, you can say, the very basic stepping stone for artificial intelligence model that you would like to build. Like in blockchain, IoTs, and all these, cybersecurity domains, machine learning is something that we're trying to achieve with the help of, the algorithms which are already there, which the data scientists, data analysts, business analysts are using to do the right data analysis for any business model that they are trying to work for. So in simple language, we can say machine learning refers to the compatibility of artificially created system to learn from experience. So by processing data. So like, as I gave you an example of e-commerce where, the social media are taking the data from our smart devices or our social media profiles and, generating the leads for the e-commerce websites. Okay, so this is a very simple example, very basic example of how the machine learning is affecting and generating revenues for the big tech giants, or you can say the e-commerce platform providers. And definitely without data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, computer vision, NLP, anything will not work. Or any artificial intelligence branch that we want to explore, everything is based on the data, and this data is coming from any number of sources that we are using nowadays, be it smartphones, be it the internet devices that we use, be it our smart TV, everything. So everything is generating data, and that data is being used by these big firms to process and come up with data analysis and generate revenues for different platforms. So data can be of two types, structured and unstructured. Structured data is something that we've been using, which we can put in the form, in simple words, I would like to say that whatever we can put in the form of rows and columns, that is a structured data which you can read and make out what exactly it is. When we talk about unstructured data is anything which you can't store in the form of relational database management system. Examples for unstructured data would be your videos, your hashtags, your text, audio files that we are using and uploading in n number of times on different platforms, social media platforms. These all fall under the unstructured data category. Just last slide, I'm just going to talk about that as Dr. Inderjeet and Ms. Sayal also mentioned, that we have to upskill our skills to remain in this industry. No jobs will be replaced by AI. It is going to create more and more of different jobs that we can cater to, but we just have to upskills and match up to that kind of skill set. So with this, I am ending my presentation. If you have any questions, you can let me know.
There's a question. How can we make fail-proof AI tech for healthcare and scientific research? Any traditional or innovative approaches to be clubbed with AI? Please share your thoughts. This is Kalarasi Sivaji.
And I'll just give a brief of how my husband is also working with Meadow Healthcare, which is a tech firm for medical and health industry. And he also introduced me to his team where they are working on the healthcare business, though it's not, it is still in the process where the AI is getting into the system, which is helping them generate leads. Right now, it's in the process of generating leads for many of the entrepreneurs and the business, the startup people who are investing in this technology. So when we talk about foolproof diagnostics results, which AI is going to help them achieve, is something which will happen in future, because for that we need lots of research and lots of data that has to be processed, and new AI models or machine learning algorithms have to be developed. So I think in next few decades we'll be able to see that kind of a system.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And thank you so much, Manu, to all the people who have been a part of this show today. We just thought, let's make Women's Day more productive, more artificial intelligence oriented, since IWIL India focuses on technology. But thank you so much, Manu, for sparing the time to come and speak today with all the people who are listening to you. And once again, we wish you a lovely day. So thanks once again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So to all of you, thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this session informative. We'd love you to come and join us at TechVersify. It's a hybrid event that is on 23rd of April. We're talking about career transitioning. We're talking about women's space in society. We're talking about startups and founding spaces. So be a part of this, and I hope you like this session on Bootcamp. And we wish you a great good evening. And don't forget to be a part and member of TechSupergirl.club and members of IWIL India. We look forward to hearing more. Goodbye and good evening.